Hello, everybody. It looks like we're live on Facebook now. Just to let everybody know, my name is Willie Sandoval, and I am from the Navajo, Winnebago, and Menominee tribes. And I'm letting you know that I'm coming live from Sylmar, California, which is the original homelands to the Fernandino Tataviam Band of Mission Indians. And we want to go on with this program and let you know it's called What the Prop Is This? All right. Catchy name we wanted to put up there, but we want to let you know that this program is about us giving you information, educating you, teaching you about the 12 propositions that will be on the ballot on November 3rd. We are also going to talk about Measure J, which will also be on the ballot. Measure J is specifically for Los Angeles County. That is not a statewide measure, but we're going to talk about it anyway because we feel it's very important. Okay, so we're going to be waiting for people to come online, get on the live page and everything like that. In the meantime, I'm just going to tell us some jokes while we wait, okay? If you can see, I'm bald, okay? And it can be embarrassing being bald because I did it because I wanted to look like a celebrity. But instead of looking like Vin Diesel, I ended up looking like Mini-Me. But on my bad days, I look like Britney Spears during a meltdown. I'm a very spiritual person. And it can be annoying being spiritual because some people will ask me, why do I meditate so much? I was on Zoom the other day and a friend told me, why are you constantly meditating? And I said, to deal with people on Zoom. All right. It can be annoying living in Los Angeles because people here are so trendy. I went into a restaurant the other day and they said, you don't meet up to our standards. And I said, what? They said, you need a tie, a jacket, and a TikTok video with at least 1,000 likes. Yeah. All right. I hope I warmed you guys up to a little joke while we continue on here. Just to give you guys a little note here that on Facebook Live, if you guys want to put in some questions into the comment area, we will do our best to answer the questions. While some of us are talking, the others will do our best to try and answer them. We can't guarantee we'll answer everything, but we will do our best to see what we can do for you guys. Okay? Now, for the next portion of the program, what we want to do is we want to introduce our presenters. So I'm one of the presenters, but there are 5 other presenters, and they're going to introduce themselves. So our first presenter that's going to introduce themselves is Cynthia Begay.
Hi, Cynthia Begay. Hi, everybody. My name's Cynthia Begay. I'm Hopi and Navajo. I'm coming to you live from Yolkut territory, which is Bakersfield, California. I'm a third-year PhD student at USC in public health. And I'm really excited to help inform our community about the propositions and give my opinion on what these props mean to me and for our community. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I guess I'm next. Skugtash Ani Napchiguk, Jennifer Varenchek. Hi, everyone. My name is Jennifer Varenchek. I'm from the Tohono Nation, and I'm coming to you today from the occupied kingdom of Hawaii, Kaneohe, Hawaii. I am feeling very excited about today. It really forced me to do some research and talk to some people. So I formed my opinions, and I'm happy to share them with you all.
What's up, everybody? Daniel here. Daniel French. Sego, Sewaguego, Wagatsaruni, Jiga Igis, Mohawk, Chicano, Raramuri. Excited to be here today and just to talk about the power of the vote and the opportunities that we have to get some local wins. I want us to remember that there's millions and billions of dollars on the line for our communities, and we just can't wait. So that's why I'm here with the team. Just trying to do something about what's going on in the world and our elections. And it's such a tangible thing. So excited to be here with y'all today on Tongva territory in South Central Los Angeles. Who's up next?
Shonawia, Kenintika. Hello, my people. My name is Esmeralda Xochi Flores, Tepehuan, Chicana. Really excited to be here today. I am here from Tonga lands as well in the city of Long Beach. I am just excited to share with you what I learned about the propositions, and really just to highlight the importance of voting, to be involved, to do your own research, and how critical it is for our communities to be engaged. So thank you so much, and looking forward to later on.
Hi everyone, my name is Justine Medina. I am Navajo, Ho-Chunk, and Menominee. I currently work at the California Native Vote Project as a community organizer, but my most important role is that I am a community member, and I'm excited today to share with you about some information about voting and about all the propositions. And I'm excited to be here talking about like propositions with my friends online. So yeah. Right now, we're going to go ahead and talk about just the general logistics about voting. So I'm going to try to do this in 1 minute. I wanted to start off with the let's get ready to vote. So if you aren't a registered voter yet, first I want to ask, what are you waiting for? You can definitely register to vote online at the website below. So see that right there. And you want to make sure you do that by Monday, October 19th, because that is the last day to register to vote. So if you haven't done that already, do that right now, or right after this event, right after you learn about the propositions. If you are already registered to vote and you're a California registered voter, you should have received your ballot in the mail already. Yes, it should have been in the mail. You should have received that already. If you haven't received that yet, then you want to make sure you check your voting registration. So that link is also below right there. So go ahead and check that out and see where your voter status is. If you need to update your mailing address or any other information. And lastly, if you're all good, so you already registered to vote, you already checked your voter registration status, you have your ballot already, you want to make sure you create that voting plan. So make sure that, you're going to either mail it in, there's no stamp needed, definitely just drop that in the mail, drop it off at any official ballot box. That is very important. I saw a news article that out in Orange County, they had fake ballot drop boxes. So make sure that you go to the website to see the official ballot drop box. And lastly, drop it off at a polling place. Actually, the last one is to show up on election day and actually vote that day. But remember to vote safe during this pandemic. All right, that's all I have about voting.
Okay, hi everybody, it's me, Willie again, and we're going to get into the meat of this program. The first proposition, we're going to go through them numerically. We're going to start with Proposition 14, which proposition basically talks about stem cell research, okay? Proposition 14, it allows the state to sell $5.5 billion in bonds, primarily to fund stem cell research in the state of California. Now, real quick history that in 2004, the state of California authorized $3 billion in bonds to begin funding stem cell research in California, and that was Proposition 71. So that $3 billion has been in use since 2004 on stem cell research. That money also created the California Institute of Regenerative Medicine, which dispersed the funding through grants to universities and other entities that support stem cell research. The last point, that money is now running out, and that is why we have Proposition 14, so that the state of California can continue with stem cell research. Okay, so I'm gonna go through the advocates who are voting yes on 14, some of their points. If approved, the state will be authorized to sell $5 billion in bonds to investors, and citizens of California will pay that back over time. Next point, the funds generated will pay for more research, medical training, and building of more research facilities and expanding treatment access. Next point, the proposition sets aside $1.5 billion specifically to research and develop treatments for diseases affecting the brain and the central nervous system, such as Alzheimer's, Parkinson's disease, and dementia. Next point, a small share of the funding towards training opportunities for students at the California State University, for the California State University system and the California community colleges, as well as a small share for helping to establish and support facilities focused on research and clinical trials. Lastly, if there are any invention-related revenues that come from the research, some of the revenue will go back to the state of California. Okay. So those who oppose Prop 14, those who say no on 14, a no on 14 means we will not issue the 5.5 billion in bonds, and we will not have that amount for the state of California to continue stem cell research. What that means is that the original $3 billion from 2004 will simply run out. Since the state of California will not do stem cell research at that level with that amount of money. The opponents of Proposition 14 state that California can access funding from the federal government, private foundations, and private donors. Okay. The federal government no longer bans federal dollars from supporting embryonic stem cell research. Now, opponents say, or opponents also ask, why is the state borrowing money through bonds when we are in the midst of an economic and unemployment crisis? We can use the money more effectively elsewhere. Next point, analysts estimate it will cost the state of California $260 million per year for about 30 years, which equates to a total cost of $7.8 billion. That is the original $5.5 billion in bonds, and then 2.3 on interest over the period of 30 years, okay, that we all have to pay back. The opponents also state that there have been no major breakthroughs since the original $3 billion in funding was given. Okay, so just to let you know, I will be voting yes on 14, basically because of the fact that we've been funding stem cell research since 2004. So the stem cell research has been going on. We just want to extend that. Most of those who are in opposition are simply saying that why are we buying these bonds? Why are we doing this funding that the state has to pay back? Why can't we spend the money elsewhere? Well, we're going to spend the money anyway, somewhere, somehow down the road. So why not continue stem cell research? So like I said, we've been doing it since 2004. We might as well continue doing stem cell research. There have been a few little breakthroughs here and there, like some of the opposition says. There's nothing great. We haven't solved Parkinson or Alzheimer's, but there has been some breakthroughs here and there that the research has helped us with. So definitely, I believe that a yes on 14 is good because it's good to continue the research for Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and dementia and actually a bunch of other things too. So definitely that's my point of view on that. And that's the end of my presentation in 5 minutes.
Hi, everybody. So I'm going to be presenting Prop 15. I just want to give a little overview of how I'm organizing it. I'm going to tell you what the title is, the summary, the background, what yes means, what no means, and one argument from each, including my own stance on it. So let's get started. Prop 15 increases funding sources for public schools, community colleges, and local government services by changing tax assessment of commercial and industrial property. And this initiative is a constitutional amendment. So the summary is taxes such as property taxes based on the current market value instead of the purchase price. The fiscal impact will be an increased property taxes on commercial properties worth more than $3 million, providing $6.5 billion to $11.5 billion in new funding to local governments and schools. So some of the background on this prop: California cities and schools and special districts collect property tax from owners based on the value of the property. Overall, 60% of property taxes go to cities, counties, and districts. The other 40% go to schools and community colleges. So with Prop 15 in place, commercial and industrial properties could be taxed for how much they could be sold instead of the price the property was originally purchased. So within the legislation, Prop 15 details that the property tax applies to most kinds of property, land, and buildings are taxed. Businesses also pay property tax on most other things they own, and this includes equipment, machinery, computers, and furniture. And this tax increase would begin in 2022. So what does a yes vote mean? A yes vote on this measure means that property taxes on most commercial properties worth more than $3 million would go up in order to provide new funding to local governments and schools. An argument for yes is that Prop 15 is a fair and balanced reform that closes property tax loopholes benefiting wealthy corporations, cuts for taxes for small businesses, protects homeowners and renters, requires full transparency, and reclaims billions of dollars for schools and local communities. And this is supported by nurses, teachers, small business owners, affordable housing advocates, and community organizations. And as a side note, I saw a meme recently that talked about the average homeowner in California is paying more property tax than than Disneyland is for Sleeping Beauty's castle. So that's to put it in perspective. And a no vote means that property taxes on commercial properties would stay the same. Local government and schools would not get any new funding from this. And an argument for 15 is, or for no for 15 is a $12.5 billion tax increase that would raise our cost of living and makes everything we buy, food, gas, utility, daycares, and healthcare more expensive. So I urge you, please vote yes on Prop 15. While the wealthiest corporations avoid paying their fair share, our schools have the most crowded classrooms in the nation, and our local communities are struggling to respond to the impact of COVID-19. Let's protect our communities and reinvest in our youth. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Cynthia. Yes, on Prop 15. So I'm talking about Prop 16, what the ballot says. So when you get your ballot, it's going to read for Prop 16, allows diversity as a factor in public employment, education, and contracting decisions. Legislative constitutional amendment. Permits government decision-making policies to consider race, sex, color, ethnicity, or national origin in order to address diversity by repealing constitutional provisions prohibiting such policies. Fiscal impact, no direct fiscal effect on state and local entities, and etc. So what the prop is this? So 2 words for everyone for this proposition, affirmative action. A little bit history on it. Back in 1966, when I was 6 years old, Prop 209 was voted on and passed. So that prop prohibited affirmative action. So this Prop 16 will repeal that. So for what we're really discussing here in this proposition is our perspective of equity during this decision process. We all know that white males out here are getting jobs they aren't qualified, or even college acceptances that they, don't deserve. But as a Native woman, how I see, and a former admissions counselor at UCLA and UCI, I'm a big yes on Prop 16, because I believe this proposition will benefit our Native American students and community to have somewhat of an equity during these decisions. So why are people saying, I'm gonna pause there, so I'm a big yes. So let's focus on why people say no. People say no on Prop 16, some people, because they believe that the current process that we do have for these admission counselors, those public employment decisions are equal already. So they're saying right now, no to affirmative action. That's all I have for that, just because I'm a big advocate for yes on Prop 16.
Hi again. So I'm going to be discussing Prop 17. And again, same layout, summary, background, what voting yes means, what voting no means, and my stance. So Prop 17 restores the right to vote after completion of prison term. And the summary is that this restores voting rights upon completion of prison term to persons who have been disqualified from voting while serving a prison term. The fiscal impact would be annual county costs, likely in the hundreds of thousands of dollars statewide for voter registration and ballot materials, a one-time state cost, likely in hundreds of thousands of dollars for voter registration cards and systems. So a little bit of background about Prop 17. Prop 17 would allow convicted felons to more quickly restore their rights to vote in elections by legalizing voting for people who get out of prison on parole. In 1974, California voters passed a ballot measure giving people who had committed felonies the right to vote once they complete their sentences and are no longer on parole. Each state is allowed to come up with its own laws, and all but 11 states have an automatic process for restoring the voting rights of felons after they have served time. According to some estimates, there are close to 40,000 California residents that are not currently in prison, but due to the current law, are not allowed to vote. Supporters of this amendment also cite race issues with the current law. A 2016 estimate from the Public Policy Institute of California suggests that 2/3 of people on parole in the state are Latino or Black, and like always, we're not reported, so I'm sure there's a large proportion who, are represented from our community as well in this demographic. The state legislator put Proposition 17 on the ballot to ask voters to change the law and allow voting rights to be restored sooner. This would not put California way out on a limb. 16 other states and the District of Columbia already allow people to vote while on parole. So what does a yes vote mean? A yes vote on this measure means that people on state parole who are U.S. citizens, residents of California, and at least 18 years of age would be able to vote if they register to vote. An argument for yes is that Prop 17 restores a citizen right to vote after they finish their prison term, aligning California with other states. A recent parole commission report found that citizens who complete their prison terms and have their voting rights restored are less likely to commit future crimes. So what does a no vote mean? A no vote on this measure means that people on state parole would continue to be unable to vote in California. And an argument for no is it amends the California's Constitution to grant violent criminals the right to vote before completing their sentence, including parole. And my stance is, please consider voting yes on Prop 17. Think of the representation we are missing from our community members who are currently ineligible to vote. These folks have served their time, and analysis reports show that those who vote and are on parole are less likely to commit crimes in the future. Thanks.
Hi everyone. All right, so now I'm back and I'm going to be talking about Proposition 18. So what Prop 18 says on the ballot, so, the thing you fill out on the ballot the day of, or, at your kitchen table before you mail it out, it states, Prop 18 amends California Constitution to permit 17-year-olds to vote in primary and special elections if they will turn 18 by the next general election and be otherwise eligible to vote. Legislative constitutional amendment, fiscal impact, increase statewide county costs, likely between several hundred thousands of dollars, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So what the prop is this? To put it simply, a yes on Prop 18 will allow 17-year-olds to vote in primary elections if they turn 18 by November 3rd, that general election. So example for this is if a Native youth has their 18th birthday on October 1st, which allows them to register to vote and be able to vote in that general election, then, see, this is why we do this, because it gets confusing. Then at 17, during the primary elections in March, that's when, before they turn 18, they'll be able to vote. So I think I said that right. So to say it again, just to make sure, if the Native youth's 18th birthday is on October 1st, right before that general election, then at 17 years old, that couple of months before, they'll be able to vote in the primary election. For me, it is important because the 17-year-old, I'm voting yes on Prop 18 because the 17-year-old will be able to have a say in the primary election right when they're able to vote in the general election. So there's only a few months in between that. So I would say, yes, let's give these 17-year-olds a voice during the primary election. What opponents say to no on Prop 18, they're saying that a 17-year-old cannot vote during that primary election for reasons of, one, we should just stick with the law and what it already is. So 18, we draw the line for that, and saying that 17-year-olds are too young. But to be honest, it's only a couple of months probably from them being 17 to turning 18. So why would say no to that? So I'm voting a yes on Prop 18. All right, so we're going to take a quick break from our proposition talks. We hope you're all taking notes about what we said. And now we're going to turn it over to Kelly Caballero, who is a singer, songwriter from the Tongva Nation right here in Los Angeles, to share a poem.
Neiha, Awish Koneha, Ikwaaha, Netwanya Ne, Kelly Caballero. Hello, I'm so happy that you were here. My name is Kelly Caballero. I'm a singer, songwriter, and poet, and today I'm going to share with you one of my poems titled City Indians. I dedicate this to all the Tongva, the California Native nations here, and all the indigenous people who have found themselves in the city either via diaspora, migration, or relocation. Yeah, this is for y'all. We're so much more than just city Indians. They call us city Indians, urban Indians, as if our identity is first tied to the concrete rather than the bones of our ancestors who lie beneath it. Like we aren't collecting bits of dust just to hold the earth in our hands once again. Trying to be heard above the screams of 4 million people, only again to be drowned out by the noise and hunger of a machine that knows no rest. Beneath the glamour and fiction lies the sinister truth. Los Angeles, city of angels, is a city founded by murderers and thieves who disguise themselves as such. They call us city Indians, urban Indians, as if we had a choice in the making of it all. Like they didn't try ripping us from the root to prevent us from flourishing. Take Spanish last names, learn the Lord's Prayer, hide within ourselves. Be the colonizer and the colonized. Like murder or assimilate wasn't the only option. So don't call us city Indians or urban Indians. We are Tongva. This is Tolvangad. And Los Angeles, city of angels, sits on stolen land. So remember that when you're out there. Go vote and meet your votes with actions. And yeah, Neshinachima. Thank you.
All right, that was Kelly. Oh my God, that poem was amazing. Yes, not only vote, but meet your vote with actions. I'm here to talk about Prop 19. So first, I just want to tell you what Prop 19 says. It's the California Proposition 19, Property Tax Transfers, Exemptions, and Revenue for Wildfire Agencies and Counties Amendment 2020. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. So Prop 19, I first want to cover the supporters. So the California Democratic Party is a supporter, and some officials that you see listed there, including Governor Gavin Newsom, he's a supporter. Some of the unions, there's a lot of unions that are listed. Some of the notable ones are the California Nurses Association, California Professional Firefighters, the California Black Chamber of Commerce, and the California Hispanic Chambers of Commerce. Then I also have here the donors. So who is donating to make this for this prop? Basically, it's all realtors, the California Association of Realtors, the National Association of Realtors, and then we also have the California Professional Firefighters. Okay, and who is against this? Against this, we have the ACLU of Southern California and the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. So if we can go to the next slide, I will tell you more about it. Okay, so the backstory. In 2018, the California Association of Realtors, they put this ballot on the measure to amend Proposition 13, and it lost. So this is what people are saying. They're bringing it back. And in order to understand the complexity of this, let's go back to 1978 to talk about Prop 13. It basically limited how much property taxes can go up over time, and that it's capped at a percentage, and that the longer that you live in the place, the lower your property taxes are, relevant to where you live. And if we go to the next slide, let me explain further. So when you sell your house, you lose the the Prop 13 tax rate. So Prop 19 lets you move and carry over that property tax rate. And it's especially helpful for older folks that are that might be in a position where they have a really big house and they want to downsize and move to a smaller house, but they're on a fixed income and they're not able to afford to move to a smaller place because the property taxes would be higher. So, and if you inherit a property and you live there, you get to keep it. But if you move or rent it out, you do not get to keep that property tax rate. So this time around, the Association of Realtors, they added the wildfire victims on there to make it more acceptable so that we would most likely pass it. However, in my research, I found that it's really a special interest measure that seeks to raise hundreds of millions of dollars of new tax revenues. And basically, it is it's a flawed package, and it's designed to rev up home sales that will benefit real estate agents, could reap more commissions, and it favors a very narrow segment of tax-paying public. So it doesn't necessarily do anything else for the rest of the state's home buyers. So with that, I'm going to say, if we go to the next slide, I'm going to say no on 19. I do understand that it does benefit people in a very specific situation. And in my personal opinion, I'm not in that situation, so I would vote no on 19. That's my opinion. And that's Prop 19. Thanks, guys.
What's up, everybody? My name's again, I'm Daniel. I'm here to talk about Prop 20. And I'm a little nervous because I don't want to get it wrong, and I want to give you all as much information as possible. So, um, Prop 20 basically amends some criminal justice reforms over the last 9 years or decade in California's sort of criminal justice history. So, what it does is it takes crimes. It does a few things. One of the things it does is there's a number of non-violent misdemeanors that are going to be able to be charged as felonies. It basically gives judges more discretion to raise the sentence from misdemeanor to felony if they choose to. It will also, so that's one of the main things that kind of expands the possibilities for longer sentencing and harsher sentences. It also will require DNA samples to be taken from those similar kinds of crimes. And I think one of the other things that it will do is require DNA samples from violent crimes like domestic violence, prostitution of a minor. And so those are things like, and those are things that I think that are, worth mentioning about the bill. And basically it makes it harder for criminals or people who are charged with these crimes to get parole. Now, one of the things that's really important in this bill is that it amends three propositions, right? AB 109, Prop 47, and Prop 57. So in 2011, like almost 10 years ago, the US Supreme Court said that our state population of prisoners is out of control. They said that because it's so high, it's creating um, cruel and unusual punishment. And so, out of that, and in relation to that ruling by the U.S. Supreme Court, the state enacted these three props and ballots that reduced the prison population by almost a third. Now, Black and Brown, Native folks, we're overrepresented in the prison population. And this bill, getting into like sort of my analysis of the bill, is on the pro side, it's being pushed largely by district attorneys, law enforcement, and interestingly enough, the LA deputy sheriffs, um, California Chamber of Commerce, and interestingly enough, like Albertsons and Kroger. There's a lot of kind of a backlash around theft at stores, like retail stores, and so that's why you'll see like Albertsons and Kroger on there. Some of the no supporters include ex-governor Jerry Brown, the California Labor Federation, the California Teachers Association, and even some victim advocate organizations like the National Center for Crime Victims and the California Partnership to End Domestic Violence. One of the things on the pro side that they really tout that I think is powerful is that it does require DNA sampling for violent crimes such as domestic violence, rape, and child trafficking. And so one of the one of the things there, I think it's being touted as that for the yes side, but really that's a small percentage of what this bill is actually doing. What this bill is actually, the majority of the bill is expanding sentences for non-violent crimes, and I just think that, and those crimes include shoplifting, receiving stolen items, forging a check, possessing controlled narcotic substances. And so we're already trying to reduce our prison population. We've seen what's happened with George Floyd and the movement that's come around defunding police. And there's a lot of different perspectives there, but I think we need to find more alternatives to incarceration and cultivate community and resources to prevent people getting caught in the system and getting caught in the cycle of recidivism or falling back into prison. I got a lot of family who's been in prison or is still in lockdown for years. And I think that we've got to find a better way. So my personal vote is to vote no on Prop 20. I hope that you'll consider doing the same. And again, just to review, this bill is primarily about expanding prison sentences for non-violent crimes. And I think if we want to focus on the violent ones, we need a bill really to focus on that instead of packing our prisons and wasting money on that instead of the services that we need. So that's what I got for Prop 20. I hope that was informative, and let's keep putting our minds together to have that good mind and make the right choice on that ballot. I think Sochi, you're up next, right?
Hello. Hey everyone, Esmeralda Sochi here, and I got Prop 21. So what the prop is this? So just so you know, the format, I'm going to speak a little bit on the proposition, then I'm going to talk about a little bit of those who are for, those who are against, fiscal impact, and then kind of give you a recommendation and summarize it up. So Proposition 21, it's where local governments give authority to enact rent control. That's what it's about. It's also been known as the Rental Affordability Act. Prop 21 allows California cities, essentially local governments, to develop and implement rent control policies to ensure that renters can find and have affordable rental options within their jurisdictions. In particular, it's focused on making sure that it includes apartments and buildings that are at least 15 years old. And it allows for local control of the rental rates following if someone has a vacancy, while permitting the landlord to increase the rate. It does allow for there to be a cap on that, in particular, looking at 15% of a cap over the subsequent next 3 years. And this, of course, in addition to any other increase that is allowed under the local ordinance. One group that is exempt from this proposition is owners that have no more than 2 properties. So if they own 1 or 2 properties, they are exempt from this proposition. And so let's talk a little bit about arguments in favor. We know that rental housing, it's a crisis. It is skyrocketed here in California, particularly in the most recent years, and we're feeling it more than ever during this pandemic. And so the median rent incomes in California, just to give a sense, among all 50 states, California has the 4th highest increase in rents. Even though, and also another key issue that those that are in favor are in regards to homelessness. We as a state, in total, homelessness is about 12% of the nation's population, but here as a state in California, we are 22% in homelessness rates. And the goal for those in favor is that if we have more control, if the rent isn't skyrocketed, that we will allow to keep people in their homes, essentially, and so reducing the amount of homelessness that is an impact from high rents. The idea is hopefully that it would improve the life of several Californians by doing that. One of the key things about this is that it repeals the rental housing law called Costa-Hawkins, which it at this point essentially doesn't allow for the local governments to even enact any type of rent control unless they had already established one before the law came into place. So therefore, Los Angeles, San Francisco are 2 examples that do have rent control because they had it prior to Costa-Hawkins. So this would open up and essentially allow that to happen. Many groups that are in favor of this proposition are like ACLU, the California Democratic Party, Sierra Club, Dolores Huerta, Bernie Sanders, SEIU, and etc. If you want more information, you'll see a little banner going by that mentions a group, yesON21ca.org. So in regards to props against this, so what are they saying against Prop 21, right? Well, one of the first arguments is that it reduces the home value by up to 20%, and that it impacts those who already are homeowners. It discourages landlords from renting. If they're not allowed to really make a profit out of it, then why bother renting? They may just sell off their home and stop renting overall. One of the key arguments that it doesn't have anything in its proposition that talks about building affordable housing. There's no funding or requirements for affordable housing, and there's no specific protections that are for seniors, veterans, or the disabled. There isn't exclusions, there just isn't specific protections. I want to highlight that. It's also one of the key things we're saying is it's almost identical to Proposition 10, which for those who are active voters, Prop 10 was in 2018, as a collective California decided to reject it by almost 20 points. And really the key thing I think that is being argued is that on January 1st of this year, California has a statewide rent control in existence. For the first time, the state has placed limits on rent control heights. It is illegal for residents and landlords to raise the rent by more than 5%, plus the local rate of inflation. And that was called AB 1482, the Tenant Act of 2019. So there is something already in place. And so just moving on, fiscal impact, if it doesn't pass, things don't change. But overall, if the measure does pass, there's potential for the reduce of local and state revenues. And just sort of wrapping this up, so what are my thoughts on this? Is that Prop 21, it doesn't force rent control into effect anywhere in California. The key thing is that it simply restores an opportunity for a decision-making process to come down to the local level. And if we're giving people an opportunity to make a decision locally to help renters across our state, I'm in favor of that. So yes, on Prop 21. Thank you. Hold on. I'm just a little bit out of breath on that one.
What's up, y'all? I'm back. Clearly, I was looking at the chat. We're having like a cool side conversation here with the team. So I'm back here to talk about Prop 22. And I mean, let's just face it. Dogface is the answer to 2020. He is speaking to the heart of the people. So I just want to say shout out to Dogface, native excellence at its finest. And I think what we need more of is good vibes in this world, and people who can turn good vibes into policy. So, anyways, I couldn't let Dogface come through without mentioning him and just giving a shout out. So Prop 22 is it's the Uber Lyft bill. I mean, everyone's you see the commercials, you see on your social media. If you use any of the rideshare apps, or of course, if you're a driver, you've probably been hearing nonstop Prop 22. And this bill has the yes side, the app companies, Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, those are the largest kind of donors, have put in over $200 million, an unprecedented amount of money to move this bill forward. And what it does is it amends Prop AB 5, California Prop AB 5, which basically was created to, I mean, the intention, stated intention of AB 5, which is a rule that's already passed, is to ensure job protections by making sure that gig workers who normally work, like myself as a musician, who normally work on like if I go play a concert at a bar, that's a gig, right? So I'm a independent contractor, and so the money I get, it's entirely on me to pay all the taxes. There's no commitment from my clients or the people who pay me to pay my insurance or have any kinds of work protections, whether it's sick pay or anything like that, right? So AB 5 in a state that has a giant gig economy has been a really contentious bill. And what Prop 22 is trying to do is to make an exception for app-based drivers, right? Like Lyft, DoorDash, Postmates, etc. And so specifically what it's trying to do is to allow those drivers to remain independent contractors, to not be employees. And their argument is that if they have to make these drivers become employees with set schedules and benefits and healthcare, they say that it's not feasible for their business in the state of California, that they might have to leave the state. That it will decrease the availability of drivers, that like, oh, we can't hire all of these people, so we'll have to keep less drivers on hand, which will decrease the availability to you, the consumer, like how quickly you'll get a ride or how soon it will happen. And so so that's sort of like the pro side. Another thing that's on the bill, that's worth mentioning, is that it does provide or require the app-based companies to provide some protections or some benefits, and that includes says payments for the difference between a worker's net earnings, excluding tips, and net earnings floor based on 120% of the minimum wage applied to a driver's engaged time, like when they're driving, and 30 cents adjusted for inflation after 2021. They'll also get, it limits app-based drivers from working more than 12 hours in a day, unless they've taken a 6-hour break. Let's see, for drivers who drive at least 25 hours a week of time using the app during a calendar quarter, they'll be required, the companies will be required to pay 80% of their healthcare. And then for drivers who drive less, who drive 15 to 25 hours, the companies will have to pay like 40% of their California covered like healthcare plan. So there are some things you'll have to provide: accidental insurance, death insurance. It will require occupational accident insurance to be provided, and disability payments if the driver gets hurt on the route. And so those are some things I think that are not being talked about. There are some things in there. One of the things that's super insidious and diabolical about this bill is that it requires a 7/8. So normally when we pass a ballot, it goes to the state legislature. Our vote will put it through a majority on the ballot, and then it becomes law. Now the state legislature can amend it. They can change it and adapt it however they see fit. And normally that's by a simple majority. So if we said, oh, we want X law on the bill, they could adapt it. With this particular proposition, it requires a 7/8 majority. So you need over 80% of the state legislature to change any of these rules to adapt this law. And I think that's the one that makes this so hard to go for me personally. All my app driver friends on Uber, Lyft, of course, things are somewhat slower for them because of COVID. There's a lot of jobs on the line. I know Willie, on our team is a driver, and he supports the bill, and I think, who knows, like it might really cut out services. It might cut out a lot of jobs, and I think this is one of those moments where you have to deal with like the world as it should be, or the bill that you're looking at, right? Like this thing that's on the table and it's a yes or no. And so I personally am undecided. I kind of want to say yes because I don't want to see people's jobs disappear. I know a lot of people who they fill in their income with this kind of work. At the same time, I think any like $200 million from a few corporations to change for an exemption for their industry and to make it hard to amend it, almost impossible to amend the law later, is like dangerous. And I also think, how do you have $200 million to pay for a bill, but not to actually pay for the benefits or pay better your employees or your drivers? Like, so I think I have bigger questions about the kinds of work that we need in the state to be available with protections, better paying jobs. I think we need the U.S. government to fill in healthcare and a long list of protections. So I'm undecided. I'm leaning towards no, especially because of the 7/8 thing. But really, I think I also want to say yes because I don't want to see people lose these jobs, and that might be true, So I'm on the fence. Willie says yes. You make up your own mind. That's Prop 22. Shout outs to all the app drivers out there and everybody who's gotten me to where I needed to be on tour, and we'll see how it goes. I think next up, yeah, so here's this thing. Here's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna play a beat. So I play in this band called Las Cafeteras, and we normally tour across the country and the world. And one of the things I love to do is to freestyle. I'm an MC, I'm a rapper. I love to play with words. And so I'm gonna share with y'all a beat, and I want y'all to answer this simple question. What would you do if you were president? If you were president, what would you do? And so I want you to answer that question. And as I freestyle, I'm going to talk about what you put in the comments. And that includes the rest of the team here. So I'm hoping you can hear that. And I'm going to look to the homies here to let me know if the volume's okay. So if y'all got comments, I want to hear, what would you do if you were president? All right. I see some comments. Yeah. Yes. It's a brand new day. It's a brand new day in Tomberland. Orale. It's Sego Sewa Guego. That's what we say in Gahnawage. Where my family come from, I be so many different nations intertwined inside my DNA. It feels like I'm flying. I'm like an eagle when I soar to the top of the sky. I wanna see what the people got to say on the line they got. People say they want the land back. Give the land back, take it back. Transform it, flip it upside down. Honor the treaties and honor your words. And words are truth and words have power. That's why we're in the booth. All the people with it looking fly with their fleece. The people want world peace, so we dressed up for the struggle. We dressed up for the dream. We dressed up so we could work as a team. I see, we want a better gig economy so we can have well-paying jobs to make your movies and songs and music and all the things that make your life beautiful. Everybody in this place is suitable, but I like to bring a quotable. It takes a small group of people to make change that's immutable, immutable, and immovable. And we should keep it all nice with D-nice and abolish ICE and set those kids out their cages. Let's turn the history pages, write a new book and cook up some healthy food for all the people on the line. Let's make some recipes divine, and I can't understand why they want to stall. We want no wall, let's tear it down. The Atham people protesting on their own land. Trump's trying to dig up the ancestral land. And hey, Seuss on the line, here we go. Hey, round two, here we go. Tone and Tina saying we need arts for all the people so they can do more than throw darts and try to hit that target. Shopping at that Target so we could have a Green New Deal. This mass appeal to the people. We want good jobs. We want clean air, clean water, and dancing like Fred Astaire. We should go vote and we should go fight. Raise up our fist and plant seeds at midnight. Yeah, healthcare is a human right. And if you're feeling that, then nod your head and rub your hands. And if you're feeling this, then nod your head and wave your hands. Do a little dance, yes, and do a little dance. We need universal income for everyone on the land. That's why we shift like the sands, and we want the reps to honor their word, to keep their promises, cause promises are so sacred and truthful. The truth is we got so many youthful activists who fighting for us. They're on the front lines. They're joined like a chorus. They're breath like a forest. They're I don't know what to say, but as we say, mandatory rape kits testing. We need justice for our women. Those appeared and disappeared. So we fight for our sisters, fight for them too, fight for our mothers and nieces, everyone that comes through that raised us. This is the page that turns. We got you, yeah. They're trying to erase us, yeah. I'm looking for the words. I stumble through the forest, but I think deep inside with something made for us. It's a beautiful future, and all the people on the line commenting from different places and different faces and different nations. Some of us got braces, but whether you got ice in your grill or we need to get rid of ice and make it all nice, we need to wrap it like a Target basket for Christmas. Yes, they say you got a dope shirt, Daniel. Well, I got it in New Zealand from the people who like cocker spaniels and dogs. I got rights for dogs too and different kind of animals. I say what's up to all the people on the line. Donancine, Lucia, Willie, Cynthia, Patricia on the line too. Candace coming through. We got some things for you as I wrap up this freestyle. I hope we make it to the 8 Mile like Eminem said. We got to make it. You're in the movement, gotta keep on moving. So all the people, if you're here, breathe deep. Remember that we come from some deep roots. Our ancestors taught us the truth. They helped us get here. So let's get the ones coming up to the next stage, the next 7. It's all for them. Take them to.
All right. That was awesome. Freestyle. I love it. And I loved how he was able to take the comments and incorporate them. And that was live. I'm here now to talk about Measure 23. And this is going to be pretty quick because I feel like it's very cut and dry. California Proposition 23 Dialysis Clinic Requirements Initiative for 2020. So basically a yes vote supports the ballot initiative to require chronic dialysis clinics to have an on-site physician while patients are being treated. So that's the first thing. Report data to dialysis-related infections. Obtain consent from the state health department before closing a clinic, and not discriminate against patients based on the source of payment of care. And no opposes everything that I just listed. So if we go to the next slide, the supporters are the California Democratic Party, and we have some unions and the donors. The SEIU UHW West Political Issues Committee. And then on the opposition, we have the Republican Party of California, 2 main corporations, and they are also the donors for this particular prop, the opposition. So if we go to the next slide, you will see, next slide, please. Okay, so this is what I learned and how I was able to interpret it. Okay, so most of the people that are on dialysis are also on Medicare. And so they get reimbursed by the government, by our tax dollars, for providing that care. And there are 2 major companies that basically have a monopoly on this dialysis business. And this is a fight between those 2 companies and the healthcare unions about safety regulations. And basically that their business models, they cut safety standards, and there's not any standards. So right now, currently, if something goes wrong while a patient is getting dialysis, they have to call 911. So this would basically make it that you have to have a licensed medical professional on site, which I'm not familiar with dialysis location sites. But I assumed whenever I drive by that there would be a licensed medical professional on site, and to my surprise, there is not. So if we can go to the next slide, I am for yes on 23. And I haven't, other than the corporations, I really haven't found too much research that says a no. And so I think it'd be very beneficial for our community. Yes on 23. All right. So that is me. And who is next? I think Willie is next.
Yes, it'll be me. Okay, everybody. I will be working on Proposition 24, which, in all the research I was doing, a lot of people said that this prop is just plain confusing. Okay, so I'm going to do my best to explain it, and I'll give you my opinion and what I'm going to do in the end. Number one, it will change California's current privacy law. Okay. Now, just to give you a little background, the current privacy law is called the California Consumer Privacy Act, which was passed in 2018, and which is some of the strictest data privacy laws across the nation already. Okay. Next, it allows consumers to direct businesses to correct their personal data and not to share it. Okay. Next, it triples the fine for violating children's privacy rights. Okay. Last point on this, it creates a new agency to oversee and enforce these laws. Okay. Now, for those who are for 24, voting yes on 24, they say it would expand consumer data privacy rights. It would require businesses to meet new requirements. It would establish a new agency to oversee and enforce these laws, and that agency would be called the California Privacy Protection Agency. Supporters say the measure would strengthen and secure existing privacy law. Next, it would help protect minors and their data online. So that's the tripling fine for child privacy rights violations. Last point for yes is the measure holds big businesses accountable by imposing huge fines if they're negligent. Okay. Some of the supporters are NAACP and Andrew Yang, who is a former presidential candidate. Those who are against Proposition 14, and I'm just going to let you know that my stand is no on 24. Excuse me, I said 14. No on Proposition 24. And I'll talk about it as I comment on this. Number one, it would keep existing privacy data laws in place. So if you vote no on 24, you're just saying let's keep the 2018 laws in place, which is kind of what I would see, what I agree to. Next point, it would encourage pay for privacy schemes. So a lot of the opposition that I read were pointing this out. And what that means basically is those who opt out of sharing their data with companies and don't pay more could get inferior service, bad connections, slower downloads, and more pop-up ads. So if you don't opt in to share your data and pay for it, they're going to create problems for you with these businesses. Okay. And with that, it will make it hard for low-income individuals to receive privacy protection because you have to pay for that service. And if you don't, you'll get this inferior service. Okay, so that's a major problem. Next point, Prop 24 was written behind closed doors with big tech companies. So when this was written, it was written by a real estate agent guy in San Francisco, and it was pretty much him who wrote it up, but he also had some input from the big tech companies behind closed doors. They're the ones who wrote the prop. Next, it gives big tech companies opportunities to negotiate with the new agency. Really quick, what they're saying, the opponents are basically saying is that because the big tech companies had some say-so in creating this prop, they're saying that later on down that road, this new agency that would be created if Prop 24 went through, the big tech companies would have a lot of say-so in policies, regulations, and everything down the road that this agency would be creating. So big companies would have taste. They may have some sway, they may have influence. We're not exactly sure, but that's what it looks like that some of the opponents basically say. Last big point for me is the 2018 privacy laws just took effect this year, and we don't even know how they are working. So the 2018 privacy laws, which I stated before, was some of the most strictest data privacy laws in the nation, went into effect in 2018. Some of the laws are going into effect in 2020. There's actually one law that goes into effect of January 2021, which allows employees to ask their employers, what are they doing with their data? Are they sharing it? Are they selling it? You can't do that right now, but in 2021, in January 2021, you will be able to do that because of the 2018 laws. So the opponents basically are saying, why are we bringing in Prop 24 and trying to change all the laws, trying to adjust them and everything like that, when we haven't even seen how Prop 28 is? Prop 28, the 2018 law that went into effect in 2018, those data privacy laws, which is the one that you guys are starting to see this year, which is, do you want to opt out and opt in? Do you want cookies? Yes or no? That all came in from the 2018 law. So we haven't seen the 2018 law fully into effect, whether it's fully effective or not effective. So that's why people are questioning, well, why are you bringing in Prop 24 when we haven't even, fully let 2018 laws go into effect? So a lot of people, there's a lot of questions and a lot of vagueness. And just to let you know, there's a ton of items on this research I couldn't even go over. And a lot of people that I've seen that are talking about this and trying to talk about it, say they just can't talk about everything that's in this 52-page proposition that they wrote up. I'm voting no on it because it's just too vague in a lot of places. But mainly I'm voting no because of pay for privacy schemes. Number two, big tech companies will have some weight in the new agency. And my main one is let's let the 2018 laws go into effect, or let those run its course. Let's see what happens. And then like 2 years from now, we can come up with another ballot measure. But let's stay with the 2018 laws, and let's not push Prop 24 and create a new law and create more problems than we need. And that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Natalie.
Okay, who's next?
Yeah, Natalie, I'm next. I'm next right now. Yeah, I'll be on the screen. Okay. Actually, I'm on the screen. Okay, bye. Hey, everyone. I'm back. Okay, I got Prop 25 ready and good to go. Prop 25, what the prop is this? It is to replace the money bail system. So let's get into it. Okay. So Prop 25 actually is a referendum. It was placed on the ballot to overturn SB 10. Because SB 10 actually is the law that was put into place to replace the money bail system. So a law in 2018 was already put into place, SB 10, but it was on hold because immediately as the law was passed in effect, essentially all the bail bonds and cash bail bond people said, we're not going down without a fight, got a bunch of signatures and made sure that it was back on the ballot for us to make a decision if this is really what we want to do. So let's figure it out. Do we want to do this? But I figured the best way to understand Prop 25 is to understand SB 10. So let's talk about SB 10 real quick. So SB 10, essentially, just to note, this bill in 2018 was designed to make California the first state to end the use of cash bail for detained suspects awaiting trial. The legislation would replace the state's cash bail system with risk assessments to determine whether a detained suspect should be granted pre-trial release and under what conditions, right? And so the risk assessments would be categorizing suspects as low risk, medium risk, and high risk. So some of the key points about SB 10 is, again, there's going to be different levels of how they determine who is released during pretrial. So one, misdemeanors, for the majority, most are going to be cited and released within 12 hours, or essentially as it's proposed. And then there will be greater scrutiny for serious offenses. The detention would be based on risk and not based on the lack of funds. The elimination, it will eliminate completely cash bail or bail bonds. And then when there's very strong evidence that there are no conditions of release that can be reasonably assured, like for public safety, then a defendant can be detained further. And so let's dig into the arguments in favor. The main argument in favor of Prop 25 is that the current bail system does not work. It must go. I mean, if you can't afford to have bail or bail bond, then you stay in jail. And that's just simply not fair. And so disproportionate to the poor, disproportionate to Black, Brown, and particularly here we're just discussing our Indigenous communities, systemically have been in a position where they don't necessarily have the income to use a bail bond or cash bail, and therefore stay in jail longer, even if they were innocent of whatever reason they're being stopped. And this year alone, I think, has helped to, with the social unrest that's been happening in 2020, bringing again awareness, not just to Black Lives Matter, but to especially to Indigenous lives and what is going on in our communities. And systemically, our people have been stopped by cops in much larger numbers. And I think that's important to note. The state is under a current system, roughly they're stating about 40,000 people are awaiting trial in jail simply because they can't afford the bail. And so they're also stating that they propose that it will be safer for our communities because those that are in jail are the ones that are supposed to be in there, the greater threat. Those that are supporting this are the California Democratic Party, SEIU California, California for Safety and Justice, Legal Women Voters, Equality California, the California Teachers Association, etc. More info you'll see on the banner if you want more info on Prop 25. But to be fair, there are arguments against Prop 25. So highlighting a few of those. We have a bail system that works well and almost no cost to taxpayers. A new system that requires additional court hearings to overrule the computer's decision, it leads to even longer delays and may backlog our justice system. Those against believe that the risk assessment tools that need to be created will most likely be racially and socially economically biased, thus not helping in the cause that those that are in jail or waiting or arrested are not already systemically biased. It would expand police agency funding. 8,000 jobs essentially will be lost across California when we dismantle the cash bonds system. Top people that are against is the Republican Party of California, Orange County Board of Supervisors, American Bail Coalition, California Bail Coalition, and ACLU of Southern California. And so just a quick note on the fiscal impact. In regards to the money, here's the thing. If Prop 25 doesn't pass, then nothing changes. Status quo. If Prop 25 does pass, then yes, it will take funding to create a new system and process in regards to releasing individuals, roughly in the mid-hundreds of millions, but as well as that there is a savings in less people in jail proposed within this proposition in the tens of millions. So where do we stand? What is my recommendation? Want to note that the United States and the Philippines are the only two countries in the world that allow companies to operate for-profit bail operations. And so the industry is powerful and very profitable. And so the top 10 companies estimated 14 billion every year, ranking in 2 billion in profit. Roughly 25% of that is here in California. And so this current system disproportionately impacts our communities, hands down, red, black, brown, it is impacting us. So on both sides, there's arguments that the cash bail system is not working. What the key thing is that is what we want to replace it with better? And the true answer is, I don't know. We don't know because we haven't tried something other than what is. So my vote is yes, let's take the risk. Let's figure it out because what we do know is that this isn't working. So let's try to figure out something else that does. My time is up. Thank you so much. Yes, on Prop 25 is my recommendation.
Amazing job, Sochi. I just found out that while I was rapping, there was no music. So y'all just heard me freestyling to no time. But that's cool because, for us, like time is like circular. It's not just a straight line. So, we relate differently to time. Hopefully I'll keep this in time. So the last thing I want to talk about, or the next thing I want to talk about is Measure J. It's an LA County measure. So it's not statewide. This is just for people in any city or town in LA County. And what LA County Measure J does is it allocates 10% of the unrestricted funds of the county's budget to community investment. And what that includes is youth development programs, job training and low-income jobs, investment in small minority-owned businesses, rent assistance, housing vouchers, and transitional housing. For alternatives to incarceration, the amendment includes allocating funds to community-based restorative justice programs, pre-trial non-custody services and treatment, and health services, counseling, and mental health and substance abuse disorder services. So basically, it's saying that and let me pull up the numbers here. So like the county budget is about $36 billion. Of that, the supervisors, the sort of overlords of the county, they have discretion over 8 to 10 billion of that, right? So that's the sort of uncommitted funds that they have discretion over. And so of that 8 to 10 billion, Measure J will allocate 10% of that. So it could be like $500 million up to $1 billion every year in perpetuity that will go to those purposes, to investment over incarceration, right? So it has to do, and it comes out of the context of the Black Lives Matter movement, the fight for Measure R, which gave subpoena power to the Civilian Oversight Committee over the county sheriffs. And so it's part of steps to have accountability it's related to a movement to have more accountability in relation to law enforcement. But this bill in particular is dope because it just says, look, these are things that we already need. And for sure, we're going to take 10% of it and give it to those causes, to a community investment. And another important part of this bill is that it's untouchable by the carceral system. So sheriffs, the police department, they can't use it for anything in their departments. It doesn't go to them. And so people who endorse it include the county, the city mayor, Garcetti, the National Union of Healthcare Workers, SEIU, Unite Here, Black Lives Matter, Reimagine LA. The No Coalition is law enforcement. It's the county sheriffs, LAPD. And so this is, to me, a no-brainer. Okay, we got money on the table every year in our county budget. Let's allocate it to the services that our communities need so we don't have to fall into the carceral system. So as natives, as Black and brown people, we can avoid falling into these traps and give our children and our community a future and a way to deal with the challenges that they're facing. So that's an easy breezy, I think. Measure J, say yes. Of course, do what you want with the knowledge, and I'm going to pass it on to our next person here. Oh, so it's also my job. I'm the next person. So we just want to review what we've talked about today. So I'm going to give you the breakdown of what the yes and no's on the props that we put out. Prop 14 was a yes. Prop 15 was a yes. Prop 16 is a yes. Prop 17, yes. Prop 18, yes. 19 was no. Prop 20 was no. 21, and Sochi, I'm going to ask you to get me back on that. But Prop 21, we'll come back to that. Prop 22, I was undecided, but Willie on the team says yes. So I think that's worth looking at. Prop 23 is a yes. Prop 24 is a no. Prop 25 is a yes. And Measure J is a yes. Sochi, can you come back on and just remind us what you put for Prop 21? I'm sorry, I'm blanking.
Oh, yes.
Prop 21 is a yes. Great.
Yes.
So here's what we're going to do. The thing about elections is it's not like we're waiting until November 3rd. Okay. Don't wait until November 3rd. In California, as Justine said at the top, you probably already have your ballot. And if you don't, you can still go, you can vote now, right? If you have that. So let's get our votes in early. Let's make voting sexy. Let's make it fun. Let's bring the party back to it. Let's get our friends and cousins. You know, a lot of these bills, they're won by the thousands. You know, I got like 43 first cousins. Okay. Of my 43 first cousins, I think they're all able to vote. And then they all have partners, right? So kind of just my cousins, I could get like a cool 100 votes. All right. So all of y'all got cousins, you got family members, you got friends, holler at your people. And what I want to do is introduce our new video from my band Las Cafeteras. It's called Long Time Coming. It's an old Sam Cooke lyric. And it's trying to imagine, what is that celebration going to be like? How are we celebrating ourselves that we're active in our communities, that we're voting, that we're coming together in a time that we could call a dark time or a tormentous time, and we could flip it and say, no, we're dope. Our people are beautiful. Democracy is indigenous. We've been dancing since day one, since our heart was beating like a drum. So with that, I want to introduce Long Time Coming, our latest video from Las Cafeteras, my band. And let's keep bringing the party, y'all, to the movement. We are 6-7 homies who got together and just said, hey, let's do something about the elections, right? It's not like we're perfect. That's not like we're the most professional anything, but we're dope because we're dope people. And we're just wanted to share this with y'all as a gift and expression of like, we can all do something. Here we go. Take us to the video.
A change is coming. Can you feel it?
There's a time to fight, time to write, undo all the things that the devil made right. Brown man, black man, yellow man, blue. Everything I thought was true was based on a lie I learned in school. We all be from Africa. Scientists can back it up. Race is a concept created to oppress. 846.
You know the time. You know the time.
You know the time is 846.
You know the time.
Change in the car. Change in the car. We ain't gonna stop. And we ain't gonna stop.
It's been a long time coming. It's been too long. It's been a long time coming. It's been too
Yeah,
long.
from the ancients to attainments of today's kin tenacious. We rebels raised in a stolen nation. They shameless since the days when there was enslavement. The anguish, it don't make sense. So we can't quit with race. Let's counterattacking the heinous, racist, ignoramus. Can't detain us, courageous on a daily basis. The greatest, we say this. It's in our destiny. It awaits us. Rather be hated for being real than love for being fake. Made it this far in truth and good faith. Don't sell yourself short. We are not what they say. I know change is gonna come. Let's make it work the way we can't wait on them. Do change is ours to take. Each one teach one from the cradle to the grave. With blood, sweat, and tears, we have overpaid. Now it's time to collect. Give me my change.
A change in the car. A change in the car. We ain't gonna stop. And we ain't gonna stop.
It's been a long time. It's been a long time. It's been a long time coming, coming, coming. Sing it with me now. Say it with me now. Sing it with me. So let me hear you sing. Let me hear you. So let me hear you sing. Let me hear you. So let me
Just cry with me, don't die with me. Put your fist in the air and fight for me. The cops in the streets kill violently. The judges in the courts, they lie to me. Everybody in the streets just ride with me. The tears from my face fall silently. Close your eyes so we can see. Close your eyes and let's get free. Let's get free. A change in the car. A change in the car.
It's been a long time coming. It's been too long. It's been a long time coming. It's been a long time coming. Sing it with me now. It's been a long time. Say it with me now. It's been a long time coming. Sing it with me now. So let me hear you sing.
Everybody's still jamming.
Hey.
That was awesome.
Okay, just for everybody that is still left watching us, we just want to thank you. We just want to thank you for giving us the opportunity to share what we know or learned or studied or researched about the propositions. We want to thank you all totally and completely. We want you to make sure that you go out and vote early, vote as much, not as much as you can, vote when you can, tell your friends and relatives. I meant to say that, take them, go vote if they need to, do what you can to get your friends and relatives to get out there and vote, because we really need to make sure not only just the presidential, but on the ballot measures and measures that are in your locality, that affect your county, your city, your municipality. So definitely please go out there and vote. And we just all want to say thank you in all our weird way. Everybody just say thank you or however you want. Thank you, everybody.
Pasquale, thank
Yes,
you. And thank you, Stefan, for helping us.
Yes, thank you.
Behind the scenes tech man.
Thank you, Stefan
Stefan.
Litvinchuk. We want to thank him up in the corner. He was behind the scenes and did everything for us. It would not have happened without him. So we just want to thank you. If that's it, then thank you, everybody. Have a great evening. Thank you for joining us. Take care.
Daniel's got
Hey,
something.
Dog face,
Daniel, go.
Look, dog face for president 2020. That's all I gotta say. Now,
He's got my vote.
Share
Love
the
y'all.
video.
Please share. Thank you all.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.